and welcome to round 1 of Death Shadow Aggro. We are on the play. This hand's a pretty clean keep. This is going to fetch Overgrown Tomb. Worth noting, I didn't mention this in the deck tech, but you have 5 of the 6 shock lands that you can play, and the one missing is Temple Garden. Mostly because that one doesn't cast spells that are relevant past turn 1, really. So you don't get to, like, flex into multiple spell turn 2s that well with it. So that's the land that gets trimmed. So just kind of want to think this through. So I'm definitely playing a 1-drop. I think that there isn't a good way to get my value off Mishra's Bauble and still have it be Swift Spear. I guess I can decide on my 1-drop on turn 1 depending on the results of Mishra's Bauble. That's the way to do it. Well, that's definitely a card I want. And 1, 2, 3. I think I want to. I think I want to cycle this other one this turn. I think I just need the velocity. Just in terms of cards in graveyard, just because of what I have in the tank for combo. I also need to hit the land for this. And I'm going to wait to do this until after my opponent potentially does something. Okay. This is a Snapcaster on top. I like that. So I want to use this land. I just want to get in the damage here. And after this, the question becomes how I want to pace my other damage. Just this. Which, conveniently, I have enough for this turn, but I don't want to run into that mana. So I'm going to play the Mire, because that actually threatens lethal if my opponent doesn't do something. Then I just attack with everything. My opponent does nothing. I just let them take damage. Oh boy, that's what we're up against? Ugh, that's not a good sign for our opponent. So we're at 7 damage here. So we're not quite threatening lethal. Oh boy. Yeah. Our opponent is not long for this world if they don't have an untapped white source. They might just be dead regardless. Didn't fetch because I wanted to save it in case I drew a bauble so I can have filtering. Guess I just play this. think I'm supposed to go for it, right? The only thing that wrecks me is Dismember. I'm not hugely disappointed by that beating. I think that the worst case scenario is going to take the damage too, because our opponents, they're not representing Lightning Bolt in their library with those lands, so I don't really care. So I'm trying to figure out which of these I run out first. Pretty sure it's Battle Rage. And I actually think I become immense the opposite one. Let's think this through. So 3, 9, 1. So that actually loses to a disfigure. Against a dismember, it's basically disfigure versus dismember is the pick. My opponent dismembers, they take 7 down to 4. So I'm okay with that, I think. And I don't see... I guess I could draw a Goyf, so I actually want to do this way. So I want to exile instant land, artifact, and pay a mana, so I have the largest Goyf afterwards. I'm trying to figure out why it's auto-stacking my stuff. Great. Okay. So our opponent's probably going to try to kill all their stuff. Probably have Path to Exile, so these are probably good. Cut down on Become Immense because of the delve factor. I think Inquisition's probably okay here. This shuts off Snap, but that's not the direction I want to go. Unless I see Gifts next game. I'm going to board similarly to the Jeskai matchup here. Just referencing back to Sam Black's article, which was written about 2 months ago, the end of May. He leaves in another Become Immense, which I'm okay with. Lightning Bolt's the card, which is just not great. He actually shaves down on Battle Rages because he's just chip-shotting them, which makes sense. He boards out a Sacred Foundry, which I think is kind of concerning when I'm boarding in Ranger of Eos. So I'm going to diverge from that opinion, I think. I'm going to board out a Step Links. Card just generally is not super exciting. Actually, I'm going to board out... that can get right on out. And I was going to board out a Mutagenic Growth. Until I have proof that my opponent has Disfigure, I don't think that card is going to do nearly enough work. Actually, maybe I'm just supposed to have more spells. Maybe I'm supposed to board out Sacred Foundry. That doesn't seem right at all. I guess I do have the Godless Shrine still, so I only have 1 white source. I don't think my opponent's going to have a Ghost Quarter to punish me or anything like that. We'll try this config. Let's see how that is. But I can see Mutagenic being bad here. It just feels like a lot of the stuff my opponent's going to try to do is going to revolve around Disfigure, Dismember, unless they're heavy on Engineered Explosives. This is a easy keep. And this is a clear spot where you lead on Mishra's Bauble yourself. And then you get to see whether you want to. This is the exact thing I was talking about with Probe. So I'm going to go Bauble myself. Teamer Battle Rage, which does not look like a card I want to get. I'm not huge on this step links this game. I think that's just going to be a sacrifice. So I think I would like to get a black-green. And we'll probe and see if we can chain off. Those are definitely cards that my opponent can have. So there's Esper Charm, Cryptic, Path, Fortress, Plains, Gate. Okay. Slightly awkward the way that lines up with my choice of thing to play, but we'll Nakatl. Actually just lines up awkwardly with everything, because my opponent now can path this for free. Yeah, that was just like the worst card in the deck to draw. Well, I guess second mandrels is one of the worst ones too. This is super awkward. I'm gonna throw this away. The reason for that is I now get to cast mandrels. Which I accept is going to trade for the path, but something's going to have to trade for path to exile at some point. I guess that is one drawback. I should have thought about that. So the problem with this fetch is now that I don't have the Sacred Foundry in my deck, it doesn't pair to make all of my colors. Jeez. Well, that's awkward. The alternative play I could have made is waited a turn on the mandrels, so that I didn't line up my opponent's mana into Esper Charm very well, so that they couldn't just get a free draw to. Which is somewhat what just happened there. So that's a bunch of random cards. We've got a Plains, a Delta, an Esper, a Cryptic, a Think Twice, and a Secure. That was a pretty important draw. Already have all the greens, so I want to fetch Blood Crypt. I'm going to lead on Swift Spear and see what my opponent does about it. And since they're doing nothing, I'm just going to attack with everything. I think if my opponent secures for 3, I'm fine with that exchange. So then get to Death Shadow. Probably like 2 on the Nakatl will take 1. Now I have a 5/5, which I now have my opponent on the ropes with their hand being all card draw and a Cryptic Command. They're dead relatively quickly to this. So that was their draw step. So I would like to attack first. My opponent lets me. And then play spells at a Cryptic Command. I'm going to cuddle. I just want to lead on the juiciest option. See if my opponent cryptics it, which it looks like they didn't. And there's no need to play the Swiss Spear here. So I'm just going to pass. This is lethal on board. My opponent's forced to do something about it. It's possible that this should have been green-red. I guess green-white, but the contents of my hand didn't play well. Well, there's no green-white, so I can't do that. Never mind. I'm used to old lists of the deck. We're just letting my opponent cryptic me. And I think I'm just going to play this just to maximize the odds of me killing my opponent next turn. I think that's pretty important at this stage of the game. I think that a Wrath is going to KO me anyways just because of the Celestial Colonnade. This is just going to kill me in 2 hits. I have to stay above 4 because of that. My opponent really had 2 cards to draw Wrath. I feel like they might have Wrath. Yeah, rather than spew a Cryptic. Yeah. Okay, not bad. Yeah, I think I'm dead to Celestial in 2 shots here. I guess I'll make my opponent do it. There's a chance that they just sit around and do nothing. Two damage shouldn't matter. Where's the turn might? Yeah, that on the other hand is sufficient for me to concede. It's making another secure. So I like being a little lighter on the combo here. I guess my opponent was pretty light on actual things that spot removed my creatures. I want to crank the combo notch up a little bit. Cutting this is pretty awkward, actually. Just because the Wild Nacatl pairing. I think Stomping Around Godless Shrine is now the thing I have to do. See, I don't want to actually board another one of these back in with the Mandrills, so we'll just leave it as is for now. Nope. This is fine, though. And I do not want that. It is a bit unfortunate that the land I get off of this... That is kind of one reason for the switch to Tasigur over Mandrill. The reason being that your early creatures are these two, and in the post-board matchups there, this is often the land you have, and you want to be able to get pathed into black mana. I'd like to point out that I'm doing a pretty good job of being a zoo deck right now. My opponent's getting some reasonable beats put on them here. Six, nine. I'm one short next turn. Condemn? That's cute. That has me wondering, I think I might want to fire one of these off. Because I think that best plays around a Snapcaster next turn. Forgotten about this wonderful trick that people have dredged up. I should have played my land first. Just completely blanked on that. Now I have to think a bit. I can Inquisition. I kind of like that over advancing my board here. This only puts me to 15, so I just get to make a step links, which kind of sucks. Think I can Inquisition later. A 2 life bonus on that Swiss Spear was pretty awkward, actually. That's what I get for thinking my opponent's not going to Ghost Quarter me. Cryptic tapping? Kind of obnoxious. That's why there's always another one. So ideally we draw another fetch. No. Actually, I don't know. It's a good question. Don't be... Okay. Not Baneslayer, I'm okay. I guess in theory I should have played this because of... Well, it's going to die to a Snapcaster Mage regardless, so I think I'm okay attacking. So there was a slight missed opportunity there on this bauble, actually. I could have played it first main, and then when my opponent pathed, and they're drawing another, that's bad. Um, yeah, that's terrible. Okay, lesson learned about Ghost Quarter. But when my opponent pathed, I could have bobbled myself in response, seen this ranger on top, and then shuffled it away with the path. Because I can still choose to path even when I don't have a target. So we stumbled a bit. We learned some lessons about sideboarding in terms of what lands to take out. Fairly sure we're just dead to 2 attacks here. Just want to know. Okay. It's possible that the grind plan is not as good as I thought it was against this opponent. Though I guess condemn and secure and all these things make it, well, not secure, but condemn and path make it hard to break through. So yeah, the grind plan's not terrible.